Welcome into Steelers Latest, your daily spot for all news and information related to your Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm your host, Cole Denis, and please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content to stay up to date with everything Steelers. But let's get rolling as the rumor mill around Tyreek Hill is beginning to swirl again. Pro Football Talk Mike Flores. He's saying that the Steelers have kept their eye on the possible trade target, Tyreek Hill. Which honestly, after week one, where Calvin Austin goes for 4 catches, 70 yards, a touchdown, everyone else that's involved, we had 7 different receivers catch a pass. It might not be the best timing to bring in someone like Hill, but he definitely seems like him and the Dolphins are on their last straw. I mean, Sunday's game for the Dolphins against the Colts, everyone probably expected them to lay the beat down on the Colts. Colts came out hot and laid the beat down on them. Tyreek Hill seemed disgruntled all game on the sideline. It just seems like the pairing has run its course in Miami. And Hill, for years now, it has seemed like he has wanted nothing but to get out of there. And now seems like that opportunity is really presenting itself now. Florio believes this because of the Steelers all-in approach too. He believes the Steelers are looking to win that Super Bowl this year with all this veteran talent on the roster now. Veteran at quarterback, veteran with DK, veterans in the secondary, veterans on the defensive line. Bring in another guy. Let's push it over the top a little bit more. You bring in Hill, definitely feels like we're definitely winning a playoff game at that point, especially with the defense underperforming or just the division in general underperforming. In the first week, you saw the division, the Ravens, they lost a heartbreaker late. The Bengals played a close game with the Browns. Very weird. I mean, the Bengals always suck against the Browns. It feels like it just they can't figure them out. But the Browns probably had the best week in total, with everyone thinking they were going to be so bad and putting up a fight against Cincinnati, just missing a couple field goals. That's the only reason they walked out with an L. But with the division really struggling, our defense struggling week one, might not be the worst chance to bolster this offense a little bit more. Give Aaron Rodgers even more help after one of his best games in the past 3 years, I think. So it would be nice. I think it would make us a legit contender if we did bolster this receiver core a little bit more. Even though, once again, Calvin Austin shocked me this weekend, and I hope he continues to. But just imagine Hill and Metcalf on the outside, 1A, 1B. It'd be so dangerous. No team would want to see that. Let's move on, though, to an actual signing for the Steelers. As we know, Deshaun Elliott went down with injury over the weekend in the first half. So the Steelers go out there and sign safety Jabrill Peppers. Peppers, 29 years old. He's on his fourth stop now in the NFL. Same draft class as TJ Watt. He didn't make the cut last month for the Patriots. I think he's been a solid player for every team he's played on. The Browns, Giants, Patriots all had solid years with him. Nothing too stand out, but he's been a solid role player there. He's never truly lived up to the hype coming out of college, coming out of Michigan, of course. He was supposed to be the next great safety in the league. Didn't ever reach those levels. Maybe here in Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, he'll find a way to use you the best way possible to pull out as much talent out of you as possible. Peppers is also a versatile player. That's something it seems like the Steelers defense has been looking for. That's been the focus on signings this offseason. How versatile are you on defense? Peppers can play basically anywhere in the secondary, even somewhat linebacker, sub linebacker position. Wouldn't be too surprised to see him down there, but I like the addition to bolster this secondary a little bit more. As I said, we should have signed a safety beforehand because it did feel a little light back there once you started, if injuries started piling up, and literally week one, Deshaun Elliott goes down. So it's nice seeing we were able to get pretty solid piece early in the season because the injury did come early. But let's move on to another injury update. This one resorting to Derrick Harmon, though, as Derrick Harmon, we could expect to see him sooner rather than later, actually, as I've seen reports here. that he could be back next week for week 3. He's already been ruled out this week against Seattle. But against the Patriots, we definitely could see our interior pass rusher finally get his debut game going. Uh, the thought is that he could ramp up the intensity levels at practice this week with the Steelers. They just don't want to push it too much and have him play this weekend, which I understand. I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if we win again this weekend a little more handedly. That Coach Tomlin is more than willing to let Harmon sit it out until after the bye week, make sure he's ready to go, make sure the rookie is as prepared as possible before his debut. Against, if he sits out through the bye week, it would be the Browns would be his first debut in week 6, I believe. So wouldn't be too surprised. But once again, it is great news to hear that our first round pick won't be missing a long stretch of action here. I know it's sad not having him in the first couple games, but he should be there for the entire rest of the season once he comes back. And we truly need it after the abysmal showing up front against the Jets this weekend. Now, moving to this weekend against Seattle, we know we won't have Harmon, but what do the Steelers have to do to walk out of there with a win out of Acrisure Stadium? Uh, let's just start with the defensive side of the ball. Uh, they're going to try to do the same thing the Jets did to us. They're going to try to turn around, hand it off, get Kenneth Walker maybe 20, 25 carries this game. Hopefully, put him over 100 yards is what they're looking to do. So let's not allow that. I'd say load the box 7, 8 players every time. Double team Jackson Smith and Jigba out wide. He's going to be their number 1 receiver, the Ohio State guy. He had a big game last week, mostly end of the game, he was able to put up some big numbers. Make someone else beat us, please. Last week, the Jets were able to get their 2-star offensive weapons down, and Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. So if we can just take one of them away this week, it's already a better performance than last week because we let the Jets do whatever they wanted against us. So let's just try to avoid that. We can't let them get their star players down. We got to make them have Darnold beat us because I don't think Darnold, once you actually make him use what's between the ears, he's really a good NFL quarterback. It's just not there. He's never really had the mental process to really process everything going on fast enough on the field. I know he had a nice season last year with the Vikings, but I think that's more of a fluke than anything. Moving to the offensive side of the ball, what do we have to do to get this offensive game going? Once again, I think this game's going to be dominated in the trenches for us up front. We got to get the run game going this week. I know Rodgers balled out last week against what we consider a good secondary, but I think Seattle has an even better secondary than the Jets do. I think there's more talent back there just besides cornerback one. I know Sauce Gardner's one of the best cornerbacks in the league, but Seattle also has some of the best cornerbacks in the league, and there's more depth at that position for Seattle than there was for the Jets. So I'd like us to resort to running the ball more. Hopefully, Seattle doesn't want to get beat by the pass early. They are playing a little soft, and the run lanes will open up for us, and hopefully we can have someone go over 100 yards this week, maybe even push 200. That would be nice to see. The weakness in Seattle is definitely the rush defense, but if we can't establish that, it's going to be hard to really get anything going offensively against them because, as I said, that secondary is pretty legit. So, gotta control the trenches this week. But that has been it from Steelers Latest. I've been your host, Cole Denis, and I will see you